Hey,
Hi,
Sean.
John.
How's it going?
Yeah, you?
Doing okay?
I got
Waiting for this.
got some waiting room folks here. Let me try to get them in here.
Cool. Sounds good.
You doing okay?
Yeah, doing okay. Just kind of waiting for the sun to come back. We had like one nice day over the weekend, and then it's rained a lot. How about you?
It stayed nice here this weekend, and it's beautiful right now. So
Oh, good.
we'll see how it goes.
I don't know if there's a way to send weather back this way, but that would be nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here comes Brett. Hi, gentlemen. Hi, Dennis. Hi, Terrell.
Hey, Sean.
Hey, Sean.
How's it going? Okay.
Yep.
Yep, going good.
Happy anniversary, old man.
Thanks.
I meant to get on there and do it in more cordial fashion, but yeah, you know what my world's like right now. I apologize.
Yeah, really.
So I'm glad. It sounds like you had a couple of nice dinners, all around the house.
Yeah, all over the house.
That's really cool. That is really cool. Here comes Sam.
Say something.
Here comes Paul.
Hello?
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Julie Soul. You're shacked up with Brett White today, I see.
Yeah, we're together.
Yeah, there's worse people to hang out with. For sure.
Oh.
Julie, that'll improve your reputation. You keep hanging out with that guy. Here comes Amanda. Hi, Tom.
Hello, Sean. How are you?
I'm good, sir. You?
Okay.
Outstanding. Here comes Grafton. Here comes Jenny. My assistant governors have asked me to keep track of who's on these calls, so I apologize if it looks like I'm taking roll, because I am. Here comes Andres. Coop. Hi, Sam. Here comes Martin. Hi, Jordan.
Hey, Sean.
How you doing? Okay?
Yeah, hanging in there. Thank you.
Glad to hear it. Let's see, Brandon's on his way in. I hope my CDS guys will bear with me while I go through all this administrative nightmare crap. I think that's the technical term for it.
I think so, yeah.
Brandon. Hi, Brandon. Here comes Brian. That's great, guys. We're having a great turnout today. Here comes Mary. Look out, guys. Here comes Mary. Kathleen. Here comes our distinguished zone representative. Comes Roger.
Herb here.
I got you, brother. How you doing? Okay?
Good. You all right?
Yes, sir.
Good. You're looking good.
Well, you might want to adjust your screen if that's what you think, but I appreciate it. Here comes David. Here comes Julie. Oh, look, Harry Falk is going to join us. Nothing like having a PDG on the call. Let's see. Here comes Cody. Cindy Farley. Outstanding. All right, 28 on the call so far. That cleans out the waiting area. Greetings, Terry Mathias.
Hey, Sean, how you doing?
Okay. Here comes 473-737-0288.
I think that's me, Chuck Bell.
Hi, Chuck.
How you doing, John?
Good, sir. You?
Good. So far, so good.
Outstanding. Jane's coming. Todd Nelson's coming. This is great, guys. Great, 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 great. Okay, 31. We got everything open so far. Hi, Mary. We talked about you before you could hear us, but the call is being recorded, so you can go back and listen to what we said.
I just may have to do that, Sean.
You're more than welcome. It's 1:34. Let's get started, and I'll let people in as they come along. But I'm thrilled with the turnout. We are very well represented across our district today by the number of people and their geographic locations today. I've got some announcements I'll make at the end, but this is not about me, so I'll make them then. And if you would like, let's get started. We've got a busy lineup today, and a lot of people want to deliver some very valuable messages, and hopefully we can have some discussion as you all see fit. So let's get started with our own. We've got on the call with us today one of our district public image co-chairs, specifically in charge of the social media aspects of what we do. She is from the South Charleston Club. If you've never met her before, she is fabulous. She is one of the many people that keep me unkinked, as my wife would call it. So with no further ado, Amanda Ream, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. It is wonderful to see so many of you. I'm excited to be here as you begin your journey to become a president of your individual clubs. And I just want to start off by reminding all of you that as district leaders, we are here to answer any questions that you may have throughout the year. Our contact information, I think, is on page 2 of that PETS manual that Sean provided, which is very helpful. And today I'm not going to necessarily get into the nitty-gritty of social media because I know that we all have different varying degrees of ability, but I am always available to meet with you guys via phone, via chat, via email to answer any questions, help you with any marketing campaigns or anything of that nature. I kind of want to start just by saying how much I really like the theme that you all are going to have going into your year, that Rotary opens opportunities. And to me, that really ties in with public image. A lot of times public image gets sort of second degree treatment because people are so focused in our clubs on doing the actual service and the actual raising funds, which is important. But really, public image should open doors and opportunities for all of that. And so I would like you to take that message back to your club members to encourage them to kind of get behind and get on board with the importance of public image and spending a little bit of time and effort on marketing and social media and things of that nature. So as I mentioned, since I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty unless you all have any questions, I'm going to focus today on just sort of 5 thoughts or tips to take back to your club to think about as you lead and take over that role in your position. And the first thing that I would like to mention is now is the time to learn how to brag. One of the things that I remember when I first joined Rotary, it was about 9 years ago, and about halfway in that process, they came up with the People of Action campaign. And one of the things that was driven out of was a survey that Rotary International did, where it came out that Rotary was one of the best kept secrets in the world. And that is not a success story to be a best kept secret. And so now is the time to learn to be a little bit vain, learn to brag about your club and your club members, and to go in with that attitude as you become a leader, that it is okay to be proud of the organization, and to remember that while you're out there doing all of the good service, raising all of the funds, it doesn't help if the community doesn't know that you're doing that, because they're not going to get on board to help you out with that. So that's kind of my first thing to keep in mind, is about bragging about yourself, and to do that when you're working on your marketing. My second tip is to remember that public image is not a one-person job, and it is not the sole job of the president. So you should not be taking on that burden yourself. So it is really important to try to get at least a public image chair, if not a committee, on board with you, with your club and your organization. And I like to remind people, because I think that people can get overwhelmed if they don't have a background in marketing or do a lot of social media with their work, and they think, oh, where do we begin? You have the marketers in your club. The best people to market Rotary are your Rotarians. Those are the people that keep coming back. And one of the things that you need to maybe do is just help them as to how to articulate that. That's where we kind of come into maybe we're not great about bragging about ourselves. Maybe we're not great about telling our Rotary story. And so a lot of clubs probably, hey, it's great if you want to take an entire club meeting devoted to public image, and I'm all for that, and I'm happy to come to your club and help out with that. But if your club isn't interested in doing that, one of the things you can do is just spend 5 to 10 minutes in a couple of club meetings and kind of chat with your members about the whole, what is your Rotary story? And the first question to ask is, why did you join Rotary? But I think the more important question is, why do you stay? And sometimes you're going to fall into the trap of you're going to have people that don't really have a good answer, or they think they don't have a good answer. Sometimes it's, oh, out of obligation, or I just do it, it's habit, I come for the free lunch, things like that. But I think if you open that up for discussion, you're going to find out that there is a positive reason, whether it's for fellowship, whether it's for community. If it's a sense of obligation, then maybe it's because they do have a sense of service ultimately, and they enjoy that. And so kind of helping your members work through a little bit of, they don't use the term as much elevator speech, but a little bit of that kind of concept of how can they then go out and share their Rotary story with other people. So I would take that second tip of making sure that you're utilizing your Rotarians as your #1 ambassadors with public image, making sure that they have that ability and that comfort level to go out and to speak to others about it. One other fun thing that you can do with that is set up some challenges with your club. Have them, spend a week or 2-week period or a month. We did this several years ago in South Charleston, where we would have a month and we would have a focus of, okay, who shares the most on Facebook? Have a challenge with that. Have people, wear their pins outside of Rotary meetings and do selfies and things like that. So kind of engage your club members in that way to get them involved in public image. But the important thing to do with that is to always then come back with them and show them the effects of it. Whether it's an expanded reach on social media, whether you have new followers, whether there are more likes, but make sure that they know that the effort that they're putting in, that there is some payoff for that. So my third tip would be, experts are great. So if you have people in your club that are already in the marketing world, that do a lot of social media, that are in local media, get them involved, invite them to be part of this public image committee, but it is not necessary. What is wonderful about the world of Rotary, and it has greatly improved over the years, is I like to jokingly say Rotary has figuratively and literally reinvented the wheel for you, so you don't have to reinvent it. And so there are lots of tools already out there for you that are free, that are easy to use, and you do not have to have any sort of computer expertise or coding in order to do that. You're going to hear, I believe, a little bit later on this call about Rotary Brand Central. Full disclosure, when I joined back in 2011, I was not a Rotary Brand Central fan, but it is much improved over the years. It has become much more user-friendly. It is a very simple, a lot of times it's just copying, pasting, and dropping pictures in. So somebody that doesn't have a lot of computer background would be able to go on there and develop brochures and different things of that nature for you. One of the other things that's great is if you have, use of like Canva, C-A-N-V-A, which is a terrific website that's free. You can get stock photos off of that. And they do all the work for you as far as if you want to do a Facebook post, they do the measurements for you. You just pick Facebook post and go in there and plug in what you want. Same with Instagram and things of that nature. My Avery, the Avery Labels products, has a great tool online that's also free. And I use that a lot just to go in there and create business cards and Rotary programs and things like that. And again, it does the work for you where it's a simple drop and paste situation. So while it's wonderful to have experts in your club and to utilize them, you can start even if you have minimal ability of that, and it's very easy to use. One of the things to also tie in that I just want to reiterate from last week that was brought up, or 2 weeks ago, is utilize the district website. Bonnie and Mark have done a wonderful job on that. And if you're looking at somewhere for you and your public image chair and your club to maybe back off a little and put your time on something else, then that's one thing that you can do. You can have the district website be your club website. There's a landing page on there for all clubs, individual clubs. If you provide Bonnie and Mark with updated information on a fairly regular basis, you can use that landing page as your website, and then you can focus your time and effort on social media and things like that. So just be sure to utilize those tools that are already there and out there for you. I do want to mention, we don't want to forget about standard media, traditional media, local media. It is very important to get them involved, invite them to your meetings, invite them to your activities, community service, and things of that nature. And as I mentioned, another thing is do the work for them. So often now, if you actually go ahead and write the article, they will take that article and put it right in the community section themselves. So it's important to still maintain that relationship with traditional media, even as you're moving forward with social media. My fourth suggestion is it is important to keep, your best friend is going to be a blank calendar. I start every year off, you want to start your Rotary year off with a blank calendar. You can download those on numerous places online. I get mine off of calendarlabs.com or wincalendars.com. They all have free calendar that you can do for the entire year. They're blank calendars that have where you can plug in information, and that's how I start any sort of social media campaign. So I would suggest as president-elect that you sit down with your committee members that are going to be your fellow leaders, or at least your public image chair, sit down with a year calendar and start with the district calendar. So I think you've got one of those in your book on page 75, and know it's going to be updated, you know, throughout the year. But you can start there and look at different topics that you might want to focus on social media. Put in on particular days. Maybe you'll have Member Mondays, Giving Tuesdays, focus on the foundation. If you're looking at a particular month, there's theme months in Rotary, and you can focus your month on that. And then just start plugging in different posts that you're going to put. That makes it very easy then to do the day-to-day work for your public image chair, to go through and post on social media, not really have to think about. And then you can go back to that master calendar and throughout the year add more information as it comes to. I use that too when we're doing fundraising or we're doing service projects. You put your fundraiser date in, and then you start to work backwards and then forwards. And you want to focus and have different posts that focus on, you know, save the date, do a little bit of tease about the event. If it's an event that you've had before, then you want to do some flashback pictures, get people excited about it, let them know that this year's going to be better than ever. And then you want to seek sponsors and then recognize those sponsors before and after the event, and then have pictures from the event, recognize participants. But you can do all of that as kind of a calendaring system. It is really not as time consuming as it sounds, especially if you kind of start now and have that master calendar that you just add through throughout the year. You want to have some flexibility with that, of course, so that you can add additional things as it goes on and have some fun with that. And I do recommend that you have more than one person that has access to your social media posting, but you don't want to have every club member have the ability to post. We love everybody, but there is a saying to there's too many cooks in the kitchen. So you do want to limit that to a couple of people, because you're going to hit a saturation point if everybody is posting. People will then just stop reading all of your posts. And then the fifth thing that I would suggest that you keep in mind, I started with talking about the importance of bragging on yourself. And I think it is also important for you to then think outside the Rotary box and brag on other people. It is important, I think, to get away from that mentality that we are in competition with other organizations in our community or even other Rotary clubs. It's time for us to recognize their successes, to recognize their community partners, to recognize other clubs. And that's a great way to ultimately expand your social media reach. So for example, when you look at, I believe it's the month of September, is focused on literacy in the Rotary world. That's a great time to take an organization, say like Read Aloud West Virginia, whether or not you have anything to do with them. They're a prominent organization here in the state. You can take them, you can tag them in your post, do a shout out to them, thank them for their service that they provided to West Virginia, or even do a little book reading, you know, a live little Facebook book reading that you can share and say, hey, share it with, you know, the kids as we celebrate, you know, September Literacy Month here in Rotary World and recognize our friends over at Read Aloud. The hope is that ultimately then Read Aloud will see that they'll comment, that they'll like, and maybe they'll even share your post, and now you have expanded your reach by recognizing another organization. And so you want to do that with community organizations, cities that you work in, counties, things of that. Just think outside the Rotary box so that it's not always Rotary all of the time. And do that with your members as well. As you recognize your Rotarians, you want to recognize them for their services, but also recognize them for their achievements and things of that nature outside of the Rotary world, to let people know that we are all humans here and that we're part of one organization, and that could be appealing to other people. Just to give you a couple little bonus points here. One is that right now I know that a lot of you are probably wondering what kind of nature or course your meetings are going to take when July rolls around, if you're going to be meeting in person or not, you still want to continue your public image throughout. And I've been watching a lot of your all's sites, and I know the district has been sharing a lot. A lot of you are still doing great service. You're still having some sort of meetings, and you're sharing that on Facebook and different social media sources, and that's important to continue to do so. And so you just want to remind people that you're still out there. If you're a club right now that for whatever reason isn't able to do service right now, that's okay. Remind people what you have done. Let them know, hey, we missed this. Just kind of keep you in mind with other people. So you want to continue your campaigns of that nature. I'm going to open this up for some questions, but before I do that, I have a little task, a quick homework task for all of you that I would like. We would like to do a campaign in the month of July recognizing all of our leaders as you all take over on our social media. So I'd like to be able to get just a simple blurb from all of our incoming presidents. It can be something funny, it can be professional, it can be about your Rotary life, something that you're comfortable sharing on social media. We'll share that with your picture. And if you could just email that to me, again, my contact information is in the book, and we'll start that in the month of July, recognizing a different club and their new president each day. So something to keep in mind. But that's just my short little spiel. Again, I am happy at any time to sit down with anybody and work through a social media campaign or any sort of marketing campaign or one-on-one on any tools that you would like, and I'm available for questions.
Anybody have any questions for Amanda? I will remind everybody that in the curriculum materials that was sent out to you in advance of all these calls, the public image stuff can be found on pages 73, 74, and those that surround it. So if you think you have a question that you may not want to share with Amanda, hopefully within those materials you can find the answer. If not, reach out to her or any of the rest of us. And Amanda, thank you for that. That's today's theme, if anyone had forgotten, is enhancing participant engagement. And I think everything that you just said falls very squarely within that part of the description.
Thank you.
John?
Yes.
May I ask Amanda a question? Just
of course, Ed, go ahead.
Earlier you mentioned a website, and it was right before you mentioned My Avery.
Canva, CANVA.com.
Thank you.
And that's a great website. It is free. Well, there's a free version and a professional version. I use the free version. There's a lot of information on that, and it provides stock photos and terrific formatting for any type of social media posts. And if you need any help with that, once you check it out, just let me know. I'm happy to work with you on that.
Thank you.
One other thing before we move on to our next presenter, a lot of what Amanda has shared with us is presuming that you've already identified who your club's PI chair is going to be for next year. If you haven't selected that person, or really your team in general, you've got about 6 weeks left to do it if you want to have it in place by July the 1st. And again, not only the PI chair, but a lot of the other things, membership and foundation and Paul Harris and the things that we talk about. You know, they're not designed for the president to do them all. If you were, you'd never get anything done other than worrying about what you hadn't done yet. So please, you know, if you haven't committed to that or found someone that commit to that for you, I would suggest you start thinking about that sooner than later. And again, if you've got any more questions, feel free to funnel them to me or Amanda or any of the other district leadership team members that you think may be able to best appropriately answer your question. With that said, let's move on to our next person. This young lady, who is a great friend of mine of recent, and in a very short time, we've become very good buddies. She was born and raised actually in Southern California. She moved to Pennsylvania in 1995 to study and practice psychology. So don't accidentally slip and say something you don't want her to hear, or she will use that against you, I promise. She is now a licensed clinical psychologist operating private practice, and she has more than 20 therapists that work for her. With regard to Rotary, she's been a Rotarian since 2002. She has held key leadership positions, including being a district governor, the zone, formerly her district, in Zone 29 as a Rotary coordinator. She has been a two-time International Assembly training leader. She is the program's chair for the 2019 Zone 33 and 34 Leadership Summit that was just recently held. She's frequently speaking. She has spoken in the last month, I know for sure, all over the world with regard to keeping your mind in check during this pandemic and the craziness that it causes all of us to suffer from at times. But she's also spoken internationally at the 2013 convention in Portugal. She's very instrumental in the Women in Rotary conference that took place previously. She has served as a president's representative on 4 separate occasions. She's got great passion and energy for Rotary, as you will very soon see. She is here to share with us a little bit of branding opportunities and what our brand and our theme is moving forward. Without further ado, my buddy, past district governor, Mary Berg, the screen is yours.
Hi, everybody. And the best part of what you said is that I'm your buddy, and that makes me really, really smile, Sean. I do agree. You're a dear friend to me now. So I want this to be interactive. So I'm sure you've all learned how to use Zoom by now. So if you click on your participants box to the right of your screen, it will show all the names, and there at the bottom you can raise your hand, and I'll be watching for that. Or you can use the reaction button and clap. The reaction button down below and just put up a clap and I'll see your hand go up. But I do want us to interact. So best way to unmute yourself, if you haven't learned this hot little Zoom trick, is to press your space bar, and that's like a walkie-talkie button, and it allows you to speak while you're holding it down. So all right, so let's start with a theme. So what were some of your initial reactions to the theme? Who would like to talk about when they saw the theme and they read the theme? What were your thoughts? Okay, someone's gonna have to start.
I can help nominate people and embarrass them if you want, Mary.
I would love that.
Because I have a lot of friends on this call right now.
Okay, Ed's got his
time it's over, but they are.
Ed's got his hand up. So Ed Westfall, why don't you tell us?
My first reaction actually was negative about it. I guess it was just the context that it was written about, and I think it was something the incoming president said. But before I thought about it, I thought actually this was a very good theme, because of all the things that Rotary gave us the opportunity to do, the opportunity to serve, the opportunity for personal development, the opportunity to make friendships, along those lines. So it took me a little while to embrace it, but I do really like the theme now.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else had any initial reactions to the theme or thoughts even now about the theme? Okay, Dave.
Am I on?
You are.
Great. Well, I think it kind of, Rotary opens doors. It kind of segues into what originally Rotary was all about, of business associations, and the fact that through being a member of Rotary, you can meet folks who are of your profession or other professions. And you know, we went into that phase where you weren't allowed to talk business, and it was kind of looked down upon if you were being business oriented during a Rotary meeting. And the fact is, that's other fact. Paul Harris didn't have any friends, and he was a lawyer, but that was the whole purpose, was to associate with professionals and not only get their ideas, but also make contacts.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to share about your feelings or thoughts about the theme right now? Okay, so let me ask you this then. Since you've probably had a few weeks now, been doing these pets, you've been maybe mulling around how your year is going to go, especially in light of the pandemic, in light of this new system of ours. So have you had any ideas about how you might use the theme in your coming year as president to impact your community or how you might use the theme in your club to motivate members or to propel your service in any way? How are you going to use the theme during your year?
Okay, I'm going to pick a volunteer. Tom, how about if I pick on you today? Have you had any thoughts?
No, I'm not the right person to pick on.
Well, that's why I picked on you, because you may very well be the right person.
Sean, I'm going into my third year of presidency here with not feeling good about what I've been able to create or do. I need people that want to do stuff. As we've said in almost every meeting, the president can't do it all. And over time, I got to be honest with you, I'm worn down. I don't even want to be the president. I'm trying to hold the group together.
Right.
I've thrown ideas out on the table, and the idea of connectivity and all that. That's actually, it's great. I'm trying to use it to connect Westover and all the businesses. I'm just not a marketing person. I'm not a person to get on social media and start blabbing about things. I need people that can do that for me.
Well, then let me give you some words of encouragement. The people that can help do that for you and with you are exactly the ones that are on this call. And I'm not picking on Westover to pick on Westover, because Westover is very near and dear to my heart, as you know, and we are close by, and you and I have been friends a long time. There's nothing that I would love to see more than for that shell to be broken and people begin to embrace the opportunities that not only this theme, but being a Rotarian in general can provide to not only the folks in Westover, but the surrounding clubs as well. You've also got a very strong assistant governor with 4 surrounding clubs in the region. And I would think that there's a way to create, cohesion among that and give the members of your particular club even that many more opportunities to see what it is that they can take advantage of. And I pledge to you, I am here to help you do that till that somebody rolls me off the mat or I run out of breath.
Well, I certainly do appreciate that. I believe what I really need is 3 or 4 new members who want to get involved. We've got 3 or 4 highly involved current members, and then, those that'll show up to anything we plan.
Right.
So it's a good group. We just need a couple motivators.
Yeah, and I don't think you're alone in that at all. I think that this theme, Rotary opens opportunities. I think if we can take this theme and run with it in our clubs with our members first and foremost, and find out what opportunities do they want or need or are willing to embrace. And oftentimes, Tom, you're right, it may be more of your newer members who are an opportunity for you to help your clubs become strengthened. Holger, our incoming president, said that the opportunities that Rotary presents lead to richer and more meaningful lives. Do you all agree with that? That the opportunities that Rotary presents us lead to richer, more meaningful lives? I certainly believe that. It has for me. I would imagine it has for you. And if you believe that, and if you're going into your year with that, that's the essence of Rotary opens opportunities at the club level, I think. I think that's the sort of the core of what he's saying there. But it also opens opportunities in our communities. It opens opportunities across the globe and in ourselves. So first and foremost, I think we have to think about how Rotary will open an opportunity for ourselves as presidents in the incoming year, especially with this new format, with the pandemic, with COVID-19. There are dozens and dozens of new opportunities, what I would call positive byproducts of this strange and weird time we're living in right now that you can take advantage of to help strengthen your club, not only within the club with your current members and new members, but also to strengthen your connections to your communities and where the needs are going to be. Because for sure it will be tough. It'll be tough in how we impact our community. So I want to talk a little bit about what impact means. So when I say the word impact, I sort of mean how will you change lives in a really deep manner? How will you during your year create impact and really deeply, meaningfully, perhaps is the right word, change lives? That's what impact to me means. You have meaningful connection and progress and growth within your community in some way. So I think one of the things that we have to think about when we're promoting ourselves and when we're thinking about what kind of impact do we want to have in our year is, are we promoting the things that Rotary truly stands for? I think we have a lot of opportunity to open ourselves up to new members and to new projects and to new service ideas and to connection by thinking about our core values. So,
Mary, can I interrupt you for just a second?
Yeah.
I see 3 hands up, and I don't know if you want to field the questions as you go.
I didn't see them up. Oh, I see them. Okay. Cindy, you go first.
All right, thank you. So I just wanted to say to Tom, I think that there's a lot of clubs out there that are feeling the same thing that you're feeling. I know when I was president, I felt that very same way. The other thing is, as far as Rotary opens opportunities, I just wonder if this isn't a time that when we have start to have our first meetings in July, that our presidents really take this to their folks and say, that would be a program for that time. What does this mean to you with regard to Rotary and with regard to yourself? So what kind of opportunities do you see that we could do as club members? And I think that if you engage people and you're going to get people talking about things that you would have never thought of. So if I were going to be president, I'm an assistant governor forward, but I certainly will talk to my presidents about maybe that's something you do in one of the first meetings, hopefully, July, and talk about that with your folks and try to get them engaged from the get-go. But Tom, hang in there. It'll be okay. You'll find people. It'll be okay.
Great advice, Cindy. Thank you so much. I totally agree with what you're saying. Harry, you had your hand up.
I did. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Rotary opens opportunity. I think this is an opportunity for Rotary clubs to go after young people who just graduated from college and they want to make a difference in the world. And that message needs to go to those people and say, come and join the Rotary Club, the local Rotary Club, because at the Rotary Club level, you can make a difference in the world in so many ways. The opportunities are limitless for young people. And so I think that this would really help get older clubs to get some young people in. And in doing that, I think you have to make sure that you have a due system or a kind of system support financially for these young people who are just starting out, who really can't afford, some of the dues and some of the structures in Rotary, but yet they would be excellent Rotarians. And I think that's an opportunity to go after these young people, graduates, and show them the opportunities that they have that by joining a local Rotary Club.
Harry, you're so right. And I've been hearing so many people talk about the Zoom meeting as a new way to engage younger people who maybe, and as to use the Zoom in ways to help reduce dues and meal costs and things like that. So great, great suggestions. And you're not the only club who's thinking along those lines, as this is an opportunity. Okay, and then Todd Nelson, would like to give us something?
Well, I mean, I'm fairly new to Rotary, but I think that the impact that we make as a club is not measured necessarily in the number of members we have, but the impact we make in our community. My club that I belong to is very small, and but I feel like we've made a pretty good impact in our community. And one of those ways I think that many of you all probably do is in scholarships that are given each year. The opportunities that offers is many people can help subsidize their opportunities to go to college. So we're making an impact and opening doors for them. I think it's great for new businesses in the area to come and speak to our group and get to know people in our group, and also in that aspect opening opportunities for that new business to succeed. I'm just thinking some other things though, but I think that the key thing I think is the impact we make. I don't see our, I'm sorry. I don't see my group being a 50-member group anytime soon. That's not my goal. And it might be some of your all's goals, but I feel like I want people to know that we exist, for number one, because there's some people in our area that may not even understand or even know what Rotary is. So the key thing is just mainly awareness and how much that we can help others succeed by making an impact in their lives.
So I agree, and I think that when you're talking about how you're impacting young lives and scholarships and all of that, I think you have an opportunity to use this theme in everything you think, say, and do as you're promoting yourselves in Rotary. Every time you post a Facebook post, every time you tweet, every time you put up something to say to getting members, to promoting your service projects, that Rotary is an opportunity. And that gets people thinking, like, what do they mean by that? It gets people talking. So I also think that a way for you to think about your self-promotion is by utilizing Rotary's core values. I think this is one area that's been underrated and underused for the past many, many years. So get out your pens and paper, just in case you don't know them. I'm going to give them to you. Okay, so I remember them by saying FLIDS, F-L-I-D-S. All right, FLIDS. That's my funny little way of remembering them. So it's fellowship, leadership, integrity, diversity, and service, of course. FLIDS. All right, so have any of you actually, when you're doing any kind of promotion of yourself, when you're promoting your club, do any of you actually talk about that these are our core values? Have you done that before? No. Okay. Is it something to consider that there might be something in one of those core values that could attract new members? Could lead to an idea for a service project that could maybe help someone like Tom to engage some of his members in a different way if we began to talk about our core values on a more regular basis. If the public knew that these are our core values, might that make it an opportunity for someone to say, huh, those are my values too. Why haven't I thought about Rotary before? When you're thinking about promotion and PR and public image, I think our core values have a great selling point. So I want to encourage you to keep sneaking those in as you're doing public image work, as you're putting things on Facebook. You might do a quick little social media blast on Facebook that just talks about the integrity of Rotary. And then the next time you do one, maybe you talk about diversity. Then maybe you talk about service. But maybe each week or something, put something out there that has our core value in it as a different way to promote yourselves. Because that's what we're talking about today is as Amanda said, you know, bragging about who we are and what we do as a means to sell ourselves to the world, to our communities. All right, so I want to ask the question now, how, I want you to think maybe in terms of maybe a Facebook post or maybe, yeah, let's go Facebook posting. How might you be inadvertently communicating that Rotary is not that diverse or inclusive? Think, and it doesn't have to be your Facebook post per se, but maybe you've seen one out there. What are some of the things that people do in Facebook posts that says, we're not inclusive? We're not as diverse as we think we are.
Hey, Mary.
Yes, go for it.
One thing I see way too many times is a lot of Facebook posts, all I see is old white men. It's true. I see old white men. That's all I see a lot of times.
That's a great example of how making a Facebook post doesn't look like very inclusive or diverse or even fun, right? Let's add fun in there. How might you be communicating that Rotary is not fun?
A post of your meeting where everybody's just sitting around and eating and not interacting.
Exactly. I see that one a lot. And that looks really boring. Even speaker shots sometimes look kind of boring. You know, there's the you know, tag of your speaker. My club does it all the time. They put up the speaker and I'm thinking, ah! You know, it doesn't look like fun.
I think that was just a bit of a spoiler. Jordan's going to speak next.
Oh, good.
With regards to some things that visibly appear to be more fun than old white guys having lunch in their meeting with the speaker.
Good, 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 good. Okay, I won't dive too deep into this then. So we have something at Rotary that is called the People of Action campaign. I'm going to assume that you've all heard of it, okay? And I'd love for you to explore it a little bit at the Brand Center on Rotary's website to look at how you can really make your posts look a little bit more exciting, how you can use the branding taglines that Rotary has created. I've become a bit of the Rotary police in my district, and in fact, my district has adopted a Rotary branding, branded wheels and branded information only to be published. In other words, if you want your flyer or your advertisement for your event on our website, on our Facebook page, or in our district newsletter, you've got to use the correct branding from Rotary's website. If you give me an old wheel, and guess what? Wheels are what? One color now. Only one color. So if your wheel shows up in my box with two colors, it's out. We don't use it. We ask you to change it, but we will not publish it for you unless you're using the correct brand. Why is it important that we're all using the same messaging and the same brands? What does that matter? Tell me why. Who thinks that's important and why?
Well, I think it speaks to the national and international, so that we are all one and should be focusing on the same goals and mission and vision, no matter where you are. It's kind of like, my thing is coleslaw at all Bob Evans, if you know Bob Evans, which, okay, it's always the same.
Absolutely. You know, what you're getting. And I think of Subway in the same way. You know, I know what I'm getting at Subway because every Subway shop does it the same way. You know the coleslaw at Bob Evans, whether you're in North Dakota or Pennsylvania or wherever, it's going to taste like Bob Evans coleslaw. The same thing goes for our brand. We used to have so many different brands and wheels for this and logos for that. And it gets confusing. And that's part of the reason why a lot of people get confused about what is Rotary and what means Rotary. What's Rotaract, Interact, Early Act, Rotary, Youth Exchange, RILA, all these things. Rotary spent millions of dollars to do the research. to figure out what brand worked and what would be, promote eye-catching, young, vibrant, relevant brands to use. And the People of Action campaign and our logos now are all unified and send the same message. So if we're all speaking the same language, maybe people out there will start to understand who we are and recognize us right away. So it's really important that you at your meetings promote the right brands and the People of Action campaign in your posts as well. And it'll help to unify maybe even your clubs within your district a bit more if you're all sort of speaking the same language. So absolutely. Another thing that I think we need to steer away from is the, I can't think of what someone calls it, but it's the sort of the shaking with the check, that you're holding the big check and you're shaking someone's hand. You're like, we're always giving away money. That photo doesn't really attract new members. It just says that we give away money. So think in terms of how can I make that the fact that I did give $600 in my club to the Salvation Army, how could I change that post up to be relevant to my community, to maybe entice a new member to think about joining, or even just to promote that we are people of action. Keeping that in your mind as a president, that you are a person of action, that your club are people of action, may help you to generate a bit more excitement within your meeting and within the community. All right, so we've talked for about 20 minutes. I know, Sean, you told me I only had about 20 minutes. So I'm assuming I'm at my end of my time. Am I correct in that, Sean?
Do I have to answer honestly?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, then yes, you're near the end of the time. Only to try to allow everybody else to do the other things
Okay,
they have planned.
no problem. Well, that was my 3-hour segment in 20 minutes. So good luck, everybody. And you can always holler at me if you need anything. I'm happy to help.
And I can, with Mary's permission, share with you contact information so you can drop Mary an email or whatever else you would like to communicate.
Yes, keep me busy, and I'm happy to be a speaker via Zoom at any of your meetings on anything, Rotary, psychology, anything. I love speaking at clubs, so feel free to Zoom me in. All right, I'm going to stay on your meeting just for fun. Goodbye.
Thanks, buddy. Okay. With that said, moving on, we've also got, speaking with us, the immediate past president of the Cheat Lake Club, who also this year will serve as our district's Paul Harris Society chair. And if you all know, Cheat Lake enjoyed a lot of growth during Jordan's year. It continues to do that with Lindsay's year as president. And Cody Sostakowski, who's on this call, is the incoming president, and I don't anticipate anything moving different under his regime. So with that said, Mr. Feathers, the screen is yours.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate that. And hopefully everybody can hear me okay. And just piggybacking off of Amanda and Mary, service projects are something that we all of our clubs do, and maybe we all do a little differently, and that's okay. I think tying into the public image and branding, we need to do a better job of telling people all the great service we do. And part of that is using the references that we talked about earlier, whether it be social media, whether it be our branding central on My Rotary. And I'm not going to try and reinvent the wheel on service projects, because I know all of your clubs are doing something service oriented all the time. It might have to change a little bit this year with the pandemic and social distancing and things like that. But I think everybody's probably already thinking about how do we change things up or keep people safe, but still continue to do our service, whether it be food packing stations, literacy campaigns, sending books to people, whatever it needs to be to keep us safe. I think everybody's already thinking along that lines. But some of the nitty gritty, kind of the background. If you go to My Rotary, which everybody should be very familiar with already, hopefully, there's a few different references that you can take part in. One is just the life cycle of a service project. It really breaks down for you how to start, the brainstorming part of it, how to move through the cycle of your project and determine what's going to be the most impactful way to carry out that service project in your community. Another reference on My Rotary is a community assessment. If you haven't looked at that, you probably ought to as you're planning out your year's service projects. You don't want to reinvent service projects that maybe have already been done that didn't have as much success as you might have hoped them to, or you might have to tweak an already existing service project to meet the better needs of your community, especially with the pandemic going on. So again, easy references on My Rotary to be able to kind of set up your service projects. From personal experience, one of the things that I tried to do with our club is give a significant variety of different service projects, some small, some large. We're talking about engaging members. Not everybody's going to be engaged in the biggest service project where there's a lot of people around and there's too much attention. Some people like to be on the low-key side of things and might want to do something that's a little smaller, 2 or 3 or 4 members of your club that can get involved. If you have a larger club, though, you want to try and engage everybody. One thing that was successful in my presidential year was coming up a variety of different service projects where everyone could play a part in one way or another. And we were lucky enough to have basically all 80 members of our club engage in some type of service project throughout the year because we gave variety. I think that was the biggest thing. You want to think about partners, different partners. And I think Amanda alluded to this, of different service organizations that you can align yourselves with that maybe are already doing a service project that you can piggyback on or help them with. But I think that's something that we can look into, especially with the pandemic going on. Who has a need? Who's already doing something that we can be of assistance with? You might want to be thinking about grant money. I know, as certain service projects start up, you start to wonder about where the money is going to come from. If your club isn't big into fundraising, you might look into going through the grant process for some service ideas and bounce those off of Sean and see if that's something that can happen moving forward as you try to get the service projects up and running. I don't want to spend a ton of time, individually about specific service projects, because then that's really individual to your club and everybody does something just a little bit different. But one thing we want to be stressing is that not only do we want to let the communities know what we're doing in your community, but we also need to let Rotary International know what we're doing. And that comes down to going on your Rotary Club Central. You should be familiar with that by now. And one thing that you can do on Rotary Club Central is list the service projects that you're going to do. It asks you to basically estimate how many service hours and how many participants that may be involved in those service projects. And then as you complete those service projects, you go back into Rotary Club Central and you report on that. That's where a lot of the information that we use to send to the Gates Foundation to get money kind of back flowing into our district can be very helpful. If we're not reporting on all these great service projects and all the hours that we're spending doing them, it really kind of ends up going by the wayside because it's not recognized at all the different levels that it could be. So I know in the past, as Rotary clubs, we've been hesitant to tell people about what we do, how to engage our members, but that's a great way to go in and report on that and really make sure that it's being kind of all the boxes are being checked. Is there any particular questions that you all have with service projects? I know, again, right now with the pandemic, probably everybody's heads are spinning about how do we get 5 or 10 or 15 people together and still be safe and do things. So if there's anything in particular you have in mind, and put up a hand or.
Gordon, I'd like to throw a couple of things out there if I would.
Sure.
You'd mentioned community assessment and community service and doing the reporting. We actually have on our call today, if no one realized, our incoming district community service chair in Jane Stout. The other thing about Jane is she is a member of the Princeton Club. And I'm not going to throw you under the bus, Jane. I just want people to know this. The Princeton Club continues to be, despite the pandemic, very active in doing some meal packing and community events. And I would encourage you to reach out to Jane or their current president, Craig Stout, or their incoming president, to find out how those things are being pulled off and still being done in a safe yet resourceful and beneficial manner. So does anybody else have any questions for Jordan? And if not, we've got some very special guests who plan to serve as the cleanup batters for the various presentations today. John Hannes and Andres Perez are both on the call. John is our senior officer with Club and District Support through Rotary International. Andres is a little newer on the scene, but has already been thoroughly thrown under the bus of pandemic and RI involvement with regard to Club and District Support. These gentlemen collectively represent 39 districts throughout the United States, from the home, the mothership, if you will. They provide service training and regional guidance on all of our resources and services, administrative procedures, board policy, constitutional documents. These guys are walking encyclopedias. If anyone remembers what an encyclopedia was before there was this thing called Google that came out. I can go on and go on and tell you wonderful things about both these guys. They're very educated. They're very resourceful. They know what it is that we're all going through. They're very much in touch and involved with a lot of the clubs and a lot of the districts that they represent. So without further ado and watching their heads swell even more, I will stop speaking and turn it over to these very two capable gentlemen, John and Andres. The screen is yours.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Sean. I appreciate that. Before we get into the fun stuff, I just want to give you guys a little bit of context of what John and I do. That way, you know how you can utilize us as support. So we are your club and district support representatives, CDS for short, a lot quicker. And we are part of, I want to say it's more than 570 person staff, the Evanston building. So in our world headquarters, that's where we're based at. And we are all managed by our general secretary, John Hugo. Now, not only does he oversee us, but we also have more offices around the world. That way you don't have to be just tied into the United States, and everybody can get some sort of support in some way. And you can look at the image here just to see where we're all kind of peppered about. So as we go on the club and district support side of things, I will give a little bit about myself. While I am new to this position, I did start in January. I wasn't entirely new to Rotary. I was actually part of the support center. So if you ever gave a call and needed some help, then I was more than likely going to be one of the people that you spoke with. I wanted something a little bit more personal. So once this position opened up, I jumped at the chance, and now here I am. And now I'll let John give a little bit of himself.
Yeah, and I've been with Rotary for just about 10 years. It'll be 10 years this November. I've been with Club and District Support the entire time and have had the opportunity to see a lot of the changes that were talked about today lead up to this point. So it's been quite a bit of fun to see how more flexible the organization has become, but then also how more creative everybody's become. We've got some of our contact information up here, but we'll make sure that you have access to this afterward in a PDF so that you can easily get to us that way.
That's right. So as Sean mentioned, there's a core thing of things that we assist with. For policy, an example of that, we look at what the board has decided. We look at all the, essentially all the forms and all of the information that is occasionally very jargoned. And we just try to understand that so that way you guys can come to us. You don't have to memorize front to back any of those policies. You can shoot us an email or a call, and then we try to help understand how you can interpret a policy. As far as resources go, that can be something like having us help you in person or digitally in this world, or it could be something like getting you some documents that might help you with a presentation or connect you with other staff that help throughout Rotary. When it comes to admin help, that is something like a club interested in either existing, so it could be a brand new club, or it could be a club helping a satellite club charter. So if you need any help with that, we will go in and work through those steps. And the last but not least part is the online tools. So as mentioned earlier by Jordan, the Rotary Club Central is something that we are pretty familiar with, and we'll give you a little demonstration of that. And we're hoping to just run through a little live testing, and then if there are any questions near the end, we're going to stick around too. So you can either put them in the chat, or we can go ahead and answer them near the end. But I'll let Sean go ahead and get that screen ready.
All right, we're going to switch over to my share really quick. Okay. So as was mentioned, there are a lot of materials that have been available to you, and it's thanks to your dues and your continual support of Rotary through the administrative side of things that we're able to produce these and get them out to you. Todd mentioned this a little bit earlier, or a couple other people, Jordan especially has mentioned this as well. There are certain reasons to head to My Rotary to basically take on the task of doing what we're covering today, enhancing this experience and engaging participants. And one of the things that we were asked to focus on was on Rotary Showcase, which I'm not sure if many people in this space have already encountered this tool, but I'd like to show us how to get to it, kind of show what the tool is, and then briefly show how we can interact with it, and then sort of open it up and talk a little bit about what to do with that information. So to first approach it, you would want to log on to My Rotary, and then hover over Take Action. And in this Develop Projects area is exactly what Jordan had been talking about a little bit earlier, finding the life cycle of a project. And it'll talk through a couple of tools like Club Central and Showcase. Depending on your browser settings, Showcase will open up in either a new tab or new window. I've already got it open here just to kind of have that lined up for us to take a look at. Now, Rotary Showcase, in my opinion, is more of a show and tell. So where Rotary Club Central would be like the planning tool for sort of the beginning phases of your project, and then the marking of the achievement, Showcase is a little bit more designed to tell the rest of the world what your club has done. And that could be done through a number of means. You can basically search for projects here, but you can also link to these projects, and they're broken up by different categories. And I'll show some examples in a second of what is captured, but it's broken up by cause, it's broken up by the 6 areas of focus. We've tried to pull some of the really Rotary sounding things, especially from the areas of focus, and turn them into a little bit more public facing, and that way as visitors come into this tool, or take a look at the projects that have been posted, it's a tiny bit more approachable. And then once they get more involved with the club or with the Rotary region or join the organization, they can then start to hear the more Rotary speak, if you will. Projects that are posted here come to us in a couple of different ways. The first way, or probably the most, pardon me, here, the most accessible way from within the tool itself is by clicking on the Add a New Project button here. And this will lead to a screen that will call for some information. And this is sort of the actuals that have happened. It gives you the opportunity to review current projects, and that way you can see, like, if your district had posted something, you can tie into that with pulling information or pulling images from that. If you don't have an outstanding project or a grant that's in this system, you can also create one brand new. when you get into these areas, you get to highlight the story. You get to talk a little bit more about what the project had been. You can identify the main contact for the person, for the project itself, if they're comfortable being in that position. If not, find somebody that is, because it's very likely that somebody will reach out. You can see that it's taking part in one of the 6 areas of focus. You can talk about funding sources. You can talk about all sorts of things. This is one that my club had done a little bit ago. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Rise Against Hunger. That's something that no other club in Chicago had done up until last year. We were the first ones, and we were very proud of it. So we wanted to be sure to capture the story and get it in here. I can see that we have a little bit of fleshing out to do, and that's okay. The main idea for this is that we can come into this tool and share right from this experience. Any Rotarian, any Rotaractor can come in and post a project, identify the person that's going to be in charge of it or was in charge of it, and then any one of your members can share out onto Facebook or other social media sites. And the nice thing about this is that it really tends to focus in the story and give us something to talk about. Jordan mentioned it just a little bit ago that before now, we really haven't had an opportunity to collect this type of information. We can tell you how many hours are put into the Polio Plus projects, how many people have gone out on immunization days, how many dollars in vaccines are out there in the world that have all been funded by Rotary's efforts and by your efforts. And it's because we've been tracking that information for about 35 years. And that's what gets us groups like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on board as a partner. We haven't been collecting the same kind of information for water and sanitation or literacy or any of these other projects that fall into these categories. And it has been not necessarily a stopping point, but it's been something that we've been considering as we look for other potential partners. And while it sounds like Rotary is mining this information and trying to get a lot of information from you and benefit ourselves and benefit the world, that is true. But our hope is that you'll be able to come into a tool like this or in Rotary Club Central and catalog this information because, well, for a couple of different reasons, which I'll explain. You can kind of see here how my club had kind of put in our cash and our number of people and number of hours that went toward this project. You know, more and more organizations and companies are becoming philanthropic. They want to reach back out to their community. They give grant opportunities. And while we've said in the past, it's very important to tell your story and really tug at everyone's heartstrings and get those grant dollars if you can in your immediate community, we're also finding that everybody's kind of getting that message. And so now, as we start to talk a little bit more about ourselves and the work that we're doing, we're thinking, our hope is that by collecting this type of data, the impact statement on this particular project or series of projects that you're doing can be married with the story that you're sharing, the really tugging at the heartstrings story, and that both will support each other. You could say, here's the good that we do, and here's the lives that we're affecting, but then here's also the data that supports what we've just told you. And hopefully that might give you a little bit of an edge on some of the other good work that's happening out there. Obviously, if other people get the grants, they're obviously gonna go out and do very good things, we hope. But we really, really want you to be able to benefit from the work that you're putting into this tool. Now, I talked a little bit about how adding a new project is capable through the tool itself. There is another process, and I'll jump over to Rotary Club Central, which I've got loaded up on another tab here, and kind of talk about that experience. So again, in Rotary Club Central, we have a dashboard of information. You've probably been through this part, and you can see that some of the areas talk about project funding and project trends. In the Service and Activities tab, here on the left-hand side, you can repeat past service projects, you can add a new project, you can look at the current list of things that are ongoing, or go into this completed projects area. Once you've marked a project complete, like this item here, Common Pantry Evening Food Distribution, I'll go ahead and click on it. Once it's been marked complete and that I'm comfortable with all of the information that we put into this section, I can actually come back up to the top and click this little export button. And export will export this data into Showcase. And so it'll take out some of the work of having to fill in the blanks. The only things that you'd have to do from that point on would be identify the main contact for the project and then add photos and add videos and maybe flesh out the project summary a little bit more. As people keep interacting with you and talking about the project, you might see a need to come back in and make some changes, and you could do that on either tool. What we're hoping is, and I'm going to go ahead and stop share here and kind of open things up for questions, but what we're hoping is with the tool like Showcase, that you'd be able to share these ideas in between each other. It's been said a couple of times today, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Other people are already doing some really, really cool work and projects. I almost said a different word that might not have been appropriate for a recording, but really, really cool projects that are out there in the Rotary world. And why start from scratch? Tom, this might address one of the questions that you had a little bit earlier too about finding fatigue within your own membership. Well, maybe there's a neighboring club or a partnering club that you could really identify with, take some of their experience and then start at a much more stable place or a much more grounded place and then build from there. One of the things that I think was alluded to in some of the earlier conversation too was that you've got this really cool network of other presidents that are in the same position that you are. They're going into a new year with the same challenges that you're facing, with some slight variations, of course. But maybe there's something that you could do as this network, utilizing tools like Zoom or shared document spaces or Canva accounts or whatever to share the wealth. If one of you comes up with a great template for a project or a poster, could that be available to other people? You know, Amanda talked about having the Canva account, which offers a free version, which is a little bit more limited, a pro account, which does have a cost, but there actually is also a nonprofit account. And if you are a nonprofit, you have to go through a very rigorous application process. However, it is very worth it. My own club here in Chicago went through it. It felt like we were applying for college again. So you have to be very specific about how you'd like to utilize the tool. But what it offers is 10 accounts at the pro level. So 10 different users can utilize that tool and create some really, really beautiful content. You can load in all of the official colors of Rotary International. You can load in different assets like your brand, or items that you created in the brand center, and then work within that environment. Now, it's something that we would love to have been able to create on our own for the brand center, but that took, I'm sure, a lot of time and a lot of different development behind the scenes, and we just wouldn't want to reinvent something that's already been so successful and helpful. As Mary had mentioned in her section, what we would want to also make sure that you're following some of those guidelines, or actually all of the guidelines that have been produced in the brand center. So look for the voice and visual guidelines, as well as the people of action guidelines. There's a tool there as well, a guidebook for getting onto social media and things to consider. It talks about creating a team for posting, not just having one person responsible for that. There's also an event planning guide. We've just uploaded Zoom backgrounds. We've also uploaded PowerPoint presentation slide decks, membership ID cards. All types of things are available to you in this tool that we're providing to you. I won't lie, there are a couple of glitches here and there, and as you identify them, just let us know about them. We're trying to enhance this experience as well. So that way you have access to all of these things and you don't have to create them from zero. That was very brief and very speedy, and I hope that you go back and review the recording later on in case I spoke a little too quickly. But if there are any questions that we can help address, Andres and I would love to be able to do that if there's time.
Anybody have any questions for either of these two gentlemen?
Sean, I have a question about Rotary Club Central. Our club has not been entering our service projects over the years, but in preparing for my AG position starting July 1, I looked at the clubs in our district that had posted service projects to Club Central, and there were several. And it appears as though a few clubs like Barboursville, Princeton, maybe Beckley, are posting every service project or every project that they have completed from July 1 up to about middle February or so when the pandemic hit. And it just appears to me that it's a great way to keep track, for a club to keep track of the service projects that they are involved in addition to the impact that they have in terms of number of volunteers, volunteer hours, the cash contributions and the value of donated goods and services. And then when you start the next year, you don't have to, if you're going to be repeating a project, you don't have to start as a new project. You can just click on the project that you've already completed, edit it, and change the years. And would you guys agree that it's a great way to keep track of and look at the impact that your project has?
Absolutely. You can learn quite a lot from that experience or from utilizing that tool. As you said, in the next year, if you know you're going to do a project again, just hit repeat project. It'll load in your projections and actuals from the previous year as long as you put that information in, and then give you something to compare against. So as you put in your projections for the new year and the new time that you're doing that project, you could say, you know what, we only had 4 people show up last time, or we anticipated 4 people and 25 showed up. Let's use that as our springboard then. Or, hey, we raised $1,500. Could we double that this time around with a little bit more effort or a little bit more groundwork or through telling our story? And that's kind of the overall idea of Rotary Club Central, taking a look at historical information and then making a decision about the future. Maybe a project was such a great idea and you anticipated a lot of participation, and then when you go to catalog it, you realize that you kind of fell short. And that gives you an opportunity to either do the project again and make some enhancements or make some changes, or decide, you know, we put a lot of effort into this one particular thing that wasn't as successful. Is there a way that we can redirect that effort for the next year? So Sam, I think that it's such a great point to bring up in front of this group, that you can use that tool for not only cataloging, but then also planning for the years ahead.
Another thing that I found was that it'll also give you, if you've entered 10 or 12 projects, it'll give you the collective impact that you had, the total number of volunteers, volunteer hours, cash, and so on for all 10 or 12 projects.
Absolutely.
A neat way to see what your club has done for a year, a Rotary year.
Absolutely, and that's what we were kind of talking about a little bit ago, that it is helpful at all different levels of the organization, whether it's from Rotary and the Rotary Foundation, staff, from the leadership in those two organizations, down to the district, and then even at the club level in your own community. Knowing this kind of information can only help you continue to tell your story and talk about the impact that you have, not only here in your immediate community, but then also on an international level as you start or continue working on global grants.
John, I saw that Julie Greathouse from the Spencer Club had her hand up.
Yeah,
Do
Julie.
you still have a question that you wanted to ask?
I did, and I was wondering, is there a place when reporting to recognize that you may have collaborated with that may not necessarily be a member of your club, but I mean, it would be a good way to track and perhaps give ideas to other clubs as to potential collaborations that they could you know, initiate within their club. Like, we work very closely with Mountaineer Food Bank and have participated in some mobile food distributions during the pandemic. So is there an opportunity or a place that we can recognize those sponsors or collaborators?
I believe so. I believe there are a couple of different approaches. In Rotary Club Central itself, toward the bottom of these projections and achievements, there is the ability to mark that you've worked with on a community project, on an international project, as a fundraiser. You can mark that you worked with partners like other Rotary clubs, community cores, Rotaract or Interact, and then this other category. And it's my understanding that this will open up an opportunity out on Showcase. So as you come into a tool like Rotary Showcase, actually, let me get back to this experience here. You could identify here in the description or in this partners area that you've worked with other organizations. You can post related links. So if you wanted to direct somebody to the food bank or to the other group, you could post that information there as well, in addition to your own social media links. Advertise yourself, but also advertise the others. And then share it out on social media. Use the share feature to really help, again, identify not only your club, but then the groups that you're working with, and sort of give them the opportunity for some free advertisement as well through your good works.
Great question.
Yeah, that's great.
Anybody else have anything for these gentlemen? I can assure you, well, I can't assure you, but I will suspect that neither of them are going anywhere anytime soon. And I got a chance to meet with John as part of the International Assembly back in January, before the world turned upside down. I've had a chance to correspond with Andres as well since he got started in his current capacity. And both of these gentlemen are fantastic. I consider them friends, and I know that we're in good hands having them as a resource moving forward for this district in its infancy. Anybody else have any questions at all for either of these gentlemen? Well, then I would like to certainly thank them both. I'd like to thank Jordan, who had to jump off the call early. I know that this is a difficult time for a lot of us to get together, but this is the time that the majority had chosen, and we are recording the call so that for those folks that can't participate, they have an opportunity to go back and take advantage of the discussion that we had, and also reach out to us later on. I certainly want to thank Mary, my buddy Mary, who stuck it out even and stayed on the call. I hope all is well up in southwestern Pennsylvania, Mary. Mary is actually also the aide in camp to our current international director, Stephanie Yurchik. So anytime you want Stephanie, you get Mary too. It's like a package deal. So I encourage you all to take advantage of that as well. And thanks also to our own Amanda Ream for sharing just a fraction of her PI knowledge with us today. I appreciate everybody that was on the call. I acknowledged everybody individually, or tried to, as they came on. If there's any of those that I missed, I apologize. It's great to see everyone. I appreciate you making the effort to participate. I really appreciate the discussion and the questions, and that was exactly what this format was designed for, whether we did it in person or this through the virtual world, was to have discussions and not just talking heads. And I love to see people asking questions. I love to have people on the call who are able to give them the answers, because my mantra is, if I don't know the answer, I probably know the person that does. And I'm glad to have relationships with some of those people who you've seen today, who can provide us with information that you can't get in a lot of other places. So I thank all of you for that. I thank our district leadership team and the committee chairs who took time out of their schedule. Thank you to the AGs that are on the call, and particularly thank you to the presidents-elect. It's under your guidance that this year is going to move forward, and without you, Rotary really doesn't exist, because it's about the clubs. It's not about the rest of us. We're just here to help in that regard. And other than that, I just have a couple of closing comments. It would appear that the governor installation, where not only would they recognize me with the proverbial passing of the torch from Sherry, who joined the call, I appreciate that as well. But we're also going to recognize all of you presidents-elect as well as the AGs. We're all being installed at the same time. And while that appears to be virtual instead of in person as we originally planned, there will be more information coming out about that and how to do it. Same with the assembly. I think we have fairly conceded the idea that we're not going to be able to have our district assembly in person, but contain it to another virtual event, all within a day's time, throughout the day, with breaks and certain things, so that we can ask you as PEs to sync up to your club's leadership team and the various opportunities that assembly will provide to each of them, as far as your public image chair, your foundation chair, your secretaries, treasurers, that sort of thing. Our district trainer, Terry, who's on the call, and I are still working out some of the details, but we're closer today than we were yesterday. So as long as we keep moving in the right direction, I think everything will be ready to go with regard to both of those events later next month. I would like to just let everyone know that we recently identified the person who is going to serve as our district's grants chair moving forward. Her name is Cynthia Colson. She is currently the president of the Tucker County Club, and she has agreed to serve in that district role moving forward next year. I say that because the grants training is going to be part of the assembly materials and discussion that's had later on next month. So I encourage you all to identify who from your club will be participating in that regard so that you'll be eligible for the district grant moving forward for 2021. We are in search of a district governor nominee designate, as you know. Roger, unfortunately, has decided that he does not want to fulfill the obligations that are included with that role. He is going to stay on as an AG, but we will need to identify the right person to serve as this district's governor for 2022-23, if you can wrap your mind around that. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, so it's a little difficult for me to know what we're all going to be doing in 2.5 years, but now is the time. We have had an application tendered. I would encourage you all to scour your clubs to find out if there's anyone that any of you would like to nominate to be considered by the committee to fulfill that role. Beyond that, I think that's all I have. I hope everyone continues to stay safe and healthy. If there's anything I can do for any of you at any time, you know that. Reach out to me. I'm glad to help in any way I can. We'll have another call in 2 weeks. We will probably have had another assistant governor Zoom call and a leadership team call by then, just so we can keep all on the same path and be centrally branded as the experts have suggested we do today. If there's anything else, feel free to speak up now. Otherwise, I will stop the recording, end the call, and wish all of you a great remainder of the week, and see you again in 14 days. Okay, everyone. I appreciate it. Thanks very much.